by the way, this is episode 10 of my story. History, my story, whatever the story is. In my timeline, episode 10, we talked about, in the last episode, we pretty much concluded all of the next big things that I decoded. But using this, and by the way, big thing 10 was flight. It killed Devil Hill. But anyway, so at this time, I'd like to sort of, this, by the way, in time frame, describing the story of reality, was 2006, when I asked to shrink, what if we owned our world together? And he suggested, well, that the question was borderline psychotic. And I still think it's the perfect question. But I'd like to go back to the beginning of this story in 2005, when, well, my reality went upside down. Now, just for the record, this is sort of a unique, never done entertainment experience, possibly, but only if it became one, in that I have posted the method and source code of my madness. I have illustrated my madness on both YouTube and Facebook as those mediums came into play in the world. But in 2005, before the Ides of March, or around the Ides of March, I thought I discovered one big thing, that our reality was fundamentally upside down. That if we created a world by buying a world together, by merging the enterprises of the world, and canceling nations as we know them and integrate them into one enterprise with one monetary system, and open trade across the world, that we could create such explosive growth that we could change the entire paradigm of our economics, and that this sort of upside down reality actually was quite biblical. At the time prior to this, I had looked at I was reading the Bible codes, and I actually imagined sort of a movie. Imagine a fantasy movie. This isn't your reality as you know it. This is a movie now, although we might come into what the difference is. But, okay, so this is a movie, and imagine you could go back, and in those codes, you could read within the Bible codes of the Torah the future, already written 1,000 years ago. And only when we invented the computer could you really decode those codes, so the timing is interesting. The other interesting thing about the timing is within the Quran there's a code, 19. How many of you have a birth year beginning with 19? So, this, anyway, I don't want to get all biblical with it, but even whatever path you come to buying a world of future, you have to figure out how to take all the people that's whole culture is tied with their religion and make them understand that the future of economics is tied to the same. Anyway, I think they'll ultimately get it. Now, of course, anybody coming along with this kind of vision, first thing, they're crazy, I accept that. And, well, you could look at this as a story of a man going mad. But if I'm a sane man in a mad world, this is a story of a sane world going mad around him. But, however, the story gets really interesting if we go on from there, and I'll get to it in a moment. But, okay, so you imagine this story, and you started, as I said, I offered to buy California. That was like a shot across the bow. I said I had 1,000 years and 999 years of justice and peace on earth. The story I was sort of playing in my head was a story not for me. Actually, I was looking for stars to play me, because I was just trying to, at the start of it, write a story in my head that would become a fantasy that we could write into our reality, that we could write our own story together. And that was the premise of my whole story, that instead of like accepting the reality of our war and conflict, that we could write a better future together with a better plan, a man with a plan, and infinite money. Because, well, just imagine, and this gets really strange, imagine all your mortgages paid off in America, all the people in America, the retirements taken care of, the retirement age not going up, coming down. Now all of a sudden, all the Americans and the Europeans have the wealth of their nations in their pockets. Now what do they do with their wealth of their nations? They consume, they travel, they Well, we all can travel. What's stopping us from traveling? What's stopping us from creating families? This illusion of money. But anyway, so, let's say your story was a better new illusion. Now, who are you when you're giving this story? Now, in Isaiah 2.4, in the old Bible, in the Jewish Bible, it said, "He will rebuke many people and judge among the nations, for they will learn one another and will have 1,000 years justice, peace, and earth." I think I can probably prove to you that the first year justice and peace and earth could be eternity. You can prove me wrong. But anyway, sorry to get broken up. But just the notion is pretty interesting, especially on what it could do with the power of our minds and the power of our economy and the power of our advancement. But let's move on from there. So what is this character that I created or started to try to think? Okay, what are you the guy with the message? Well, I sent a message to the top, and I wanted the top to figure out the message and to buy themselves a future, knowing that we could eventually pull the gun to the head and have the people take out the top from the bottom, or the bottom from the top, actually, I meant to say. But I'd rather have the top say, "Hey, wait a minute. What we'd ultimately do, we work, and we have billions and billions and billions. What we do with those billions, we give them to charity. And eventually, after we're dead, we see the benefits if it's a charity or some while we're alive. We give them to charity. But charities aren't necessarily good at running businesses. Some of them are. Well, Bill Gates started an enterprise, and maybe he is. And that was my notion. What if we took our charities and created a better charitable enterprise and connected to our enterprises and eliminated the bureaucracy of governments and created a virtuous circle of an enterprise and let the rich enjoy their wealth and let them lead and let them actually merge their technologies and ideas and companies in ways in which we are not worried about the trust because the one trust of us." That's the economic message. And anyway, so what do they need from me? Not really much. And so what am I? Just a crazy guy in the middle. And that gets to the insanity, the sorry. And, well, anyway, that's sort of the story. So, in 2006, by the way, and this is where it gets weird. See, I documented my story by emails sent in code that might have looked like spam. And maybe, well, you could call it whatever you want. I call it free speech. But I sent them to your dear leaders. Now, your dear leaders can decide to ignore truth, disguised as spam, or not. But if they ever got a message, then, well, here's the idea. Well, I offered to buy out the news channels. I actually told them they're cancelled back in 2006. What if you cancelled out the good luck, the bad news channels? And well, you didn't really cancel them. You kept the bad news going, but you owned them. Now, I own your bad news channels, and my plan is creating good news. And actually, here's the plan. Because as soon as you get the top to create a conspiracy, so let's say back in 2005, 2006, the top had actually decided, you know what, there is a plan to buy ourselves out. We can, buy ourselves out, trade ourselves out. We can let Kramer become the hedge fund manager of the future and take the benevolent Monty, put it in the blind enterprise trust private, so that we pass all the antitrust laws of the United States, because actually we got Bush in our pocket and then we got Obama later, because we got them all, because we're in a conspiracy of us, and a conspiracy of all nations. So all the wealthy and all the powers of all nations are ultimately in this conspiracy to buy themselves out of their reality and into a new reality together. That's what you have to understand, yeah. And the reason that it could be achieved, because if we can make everybody better off, isn't it rational? Okay, so anyway, here's the point. So, what happens to your news channels? Well, imagine, in my mind, I just said it, well, you keep the bad news going. Now, when you're building good news, you're actually going out and saving world problems. You're not publishing that because, if people were running around doing good things, would you really know it if the news channels didn't tell you a lot about it? And, well, you could keep it secret if people were trying to keep good news secret. Why would they keep good news secret? Because they would keep showing you the bad news to show how it was going. And they would show you possibly tragedies that never happened. I hope they didn't, but imagine, you might even imagine, if they made up the Japanese nuclear incident, how do you know, in reality, sitting in America, that it wasn't just a Japanese movie, that they didn't have you all thinking it's a movie, and they of course have it surrounded and nobody's going to get in there, and anybody that knows has a national security level for the Japanese government saying, hey, it's just like one from Bush saying, hey, if you get into this story, you're going to be in trouble. And so why would everybody conspire all over the world? Because we're conspiring to come to a common understanding of good and bad, and we want to see, well, the effects of our devastation, and we want to see what we can do. And, well, we devastated many brands. In my view, in my reality, as I might have imagined it, well, I might have said it before, but Tiger never did it with those girls. How would you know? How would you know if people that you think are dead are really alive? How would you know whether Michael Jackson's alive? People have asked me about Tupac. If the conspiracy preceded 2005, how would you really know about Tupac or Elvis or John Lennon? And in fact, here's the beautiful thing about this fantasy reality, that basically part of my plan was by 2006, we cannot buy the world without buying out Hollywood. All of it first, all of the stars, because my plan is to make them 1,000 times that net market worth today. Now, if you're 1,000 times your worth, we can't afford to let the people not own assets. Well, anyway, that's part of the thing. They'll still get their worth. But the point is this. They now become a part of a reality movie. And so it becomes really strange in the future. Because, well, the next episode rhymes with Big Thing 11. Well, not rhymes with, but sort of resonates to that number, because I described it many years ago as flat TV, and I've described the future as real 3D, but the future actually is real. What I called many years ago real to real, and real to real, and real to real, reality TV, fantasy reality TV. Well, we write many fantasies, but we play only our best realities together. Imagine that. To be able to write your reality, to be able to computer model using movie technology, using simulations, using communications technology beyond what you can even dream of today, because my premises are full working together can advance at least no less than 99 years in 7 to 19. That's big progress. If we could do 99 in 7, think about it. If we could advance our economy, well, 99 by 7. See, you're taking the order of our current view of a bankruptcy of mind into an infinity of wealth of our own creation, of wealth divined and designed to build a pyramid of humanity, of lives, where everybody's provided the necessities of life and a path to going higher. And what those are is not what you know as communism or capitalism. It's one monopoly of us, but an enlightened one, with an enlightened capitalism, an enlightened ideals of communism, but with free liberties, and sort of imagine one world under God. And so that's where it sort of gets biblical, but the crazy part of the story is your reality at some point in time could turn upside down. So then I ask you, before we move on, if I had a piece of paper, which I do in, not this pocket, but if I had a dollar bill or currency right here, what would that be worth? What would that truly be worth if I was the real guy?
Oh, that one of those other guys of my guys was the real guy that helped? Well, okay, who's the real guy? That's the next question.